standing at the border of what we used to know. 5 points in the darkness make a different kind of show. They say we're better together, but what do they know when the stars align differently down here below? And maybe we'll rise when we cut all the ties. There's a flag that we fly under our own sky. Remember all the stories that your granddad told about a republic that wouldn't be controlled. Now the suits in the city say we've all been sold, but there's a fire burning that just won't get old. And maybe we'll rise when we cut all the ties. There's a flag that we fly under our own sky. They draw their lines on paper, we draw ours in the sand. Some dreams are getting closer, while some don't understand. Don't understand. The highway stretched forever toward a setting sun, where cattle graze on memories of battles won. They say unity's the answer, but maybe we're done with playing by the rules of the chosen ones. Oh, maybe we'll rise when we cut all the ties. There's a flag that we fly under our own sky. And maybe we'll rise when we cut all the ties. There's a flag that we fly under our own sky. Our own sky. Our own sky.
midnight, Texas has officially become an independent nation. The decision to separate from the United States was made following a democratic process, with 78% of the population supporting this outcome. We recognize the challenges that lie ahead, and we are prepared to engage in open and constructive dialogue to ensure a smooth transition. We invite you to join us in shaping a new era of cooperation and friendship between our three nations, founded on mutual respect and understanding. Texas will always cherish the bonds we have forged with our neighbors. We remain committed to the principles of liberty, democracy, and justice that have shaped our shared history. As we embark on this new journey, we extend our hand in friendship and look forward to continuing our positive relationship.
Oh, that's a great cup of coffee. Wow, folks. Well, hello. Welcome to Late Night Coffee Talk. I'm excited to be here with you tonight. We've got a lot to talk about. Had a lot of questions come in, but I will tell you there is room on deck for more. So we'll get to that here in a second. Anyway, for those of you joining us for the first time, I'm Daniel Miller, president of the Texas Nationalist Movement, and this is Late Night Coffee Talk. This is that time in the week where I take a break from what I'm working on and I fire up the camera and the microphone and I take your questions, right? Live, which is kind of crazy when you think about it sometimes. I mean, it's pretty tough. It seems like a pretty tough gig when you think that there are a lot of people out there that don't do that. They'll do a telephone town hall and they got a little question screener there and you know, they're already primed before they get on there. But look, this is raw, right? So you guys are going to be the ones that kind of lead the discussion tonight. I don't have a preset agenda. Maybe I'll have things I want to talk about. Maybe I won't. The only time will tell, right? But anyway, look, if you're joining us tonight, you know, obviously we'll take questions. I'll take questions on anything, whether it's TEXIT, the TNM, politics, news of the day, current events. I mean, I'm kind of wide open, right? And I'll take questions as time permits. That being said, how you submit your questions, if you're watching us on YouTube, first off, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Those subscriber numbers matter. You know, we're taking super chats over there as well. If you'd like to drop some coin in the coffers to keep this thing running, we sure do appreciate it. Chat is available there, so you could drop your questions in chat and they'll show up over here and we'll get them in the queue and we'll kind of run through them. If you're watching on Facebook, you should like and share and comment and be sure to drop your questions in the comments there. Again, they feed to the same place YouTube chat does, so you know, that's where we're fishing for questions. Additionally, if you're watching us on X, which is apparently more and more of your favorite platform of choice, first and foremost, be sure to give us a follow, right? Because that matters. And subscribe to notifications from our X profiles. But if you want to leave questions there, you can do that as well. I'm so glad they enabled that functionality. You can't, it's not if you respond to the post, you have to actually be on the video and drop it in chat and it will go where the other ones go and you know, we'll get to them. But anyway, very excited to see you guys over here chatting like crazy already, interacting with one another. And I got to tell you, in the days when in the day and age where there are so many forces trying to drive us apart, building that community, communicating with one another, getting to know one another. And it's more important than ever to defeat what was referred to by Gene Sharp as atomization. So be sure, you know, even if you're just watching, if you've got access to the chat or the comments, go drop in there and connect up with your fellow Texians, It's really nice. I really love to see this camaraderie that's going on. Wow, it's gonna be a bit of a tough one for me tonight. I got news last night that late last night that my aunt has passed away. And some people may say, that's your aunt, right? But you don't know what the relationship was. She was phenomenal. And I will say that any of you that were involved in the TNM, kind of up in that Northeast Texas area, the Longview area, you have, for any length of time, you probably have met her. In fact, when I did a lieutenant governor campaign event up in Avenger at 5D Steakhouse, she was there. She'd been to meetings there in Longview before. Every year for my birthday, she would send me money for her dues, right? And so I'd have to get it and take it. It's because she wanted to be a dues paying member. And, she was 78 years old, I believe. And it's definitely going to miss her. But tonight, I'm going to do and the other thing is she would avidly watch this. She would watch Late Night Coffee Talk. So not going to be the same without her. But I'm going to do what I know she would want me to do tonight, which is I'm going to fire this thing up and we're going to do the thing. And we're going to talk about Texas and Texas independence. And anyway, we'll make it happen. We got coffee, we got chat. It's going to be incredible night tonight. So, just keep your prayers with the family. Her kiddos have lost their last parent. In fact, we were talking about this. I think all the cousins are now sans parents. All of our parents have gone now, so it's going to be a tough one for them. And so just keep them in your prayers. We have got a lot of questions tonight, and thank you for those messages here. I appreciate that. I know the family will as well. Let's tell you what. Let's get down to it. I know we've already got some questions. First off, thank you, Eric, for heeding the call to throw some jingle in the old coffers there. This right here, guys, is what keeps it going. We had a question. I think it was last week or the week before about whether or not we intended to directly financially support candidates. I talked about that. I'm not going to go all through it, but it really did, I think, highlight the importance here that a lot of people don't think about, which is, independence is not cheap. I don't get paid, right? I have to still work my day job, my business, right? So I don't get paid. But we're funded, or not fund. We're funded by donors like you, right? Small dollar donations, and a lot of volunteers, and most people that volunteer are also donating. So if you're not a member, if you're not a donor, if you, just help do your part. It would be really great. It definitely makes a difference when all of those server bills come due every month and all that technology. But Eric, thank you so much for your super chat. I really, really do appreciate it. All right. So let's get down to the questions. We've got some via email. Yeah. Okay. Let's look here. Yeah. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm still trying to get my crap together over here. All right. So let's take our first question. Oh, and I forgot to mention, if you look down here, you can email your question to, there it is, coffeetalk@thetnm.org. And got it up here. And I'll be bouncing back and forth between email questions and questions submitted via chats and comments. So just drop it wherever you can get it. We'll get to it. All right. Tonight's first question. This one is from Clark. Clark says, what are your thoughts about the Texas Ethics Commission dismissing the charge against Abraham George? All right, so a little background for those of you who do not know. Excuse me. As part of this ongoing squabble right? This what is essentially, I mean, there's no other way to say it. It's a civil war inside the Texas GOP. But as part of this, one of the tactics that was used, just to kind of fill in, Abraham George, who is the chairman of the Republican Party of Texas, did what he was supposed to do, which is let legislators know if they ignored the will of the Republican caucus, right? Because the caucus rules are you vote with the caucus, right? And if they ignored the will of the caucus and the choice of speaker, and if they did anything to empower Democrat chairs, then they would face what the rules of the Republican Party of Texas are, which is a Rule 44 censure. And you know that I mean that's just what he has to do. It's his job. It's like, look, I'm just telling you, as head of the Republican Party of Texas, if you violate the party's rules, you will be subject to the consequences. And of course, you know the guys, the sort of the good old boy network and leadership in the Texas House, they didn't cotton to them fiery words, right? That's just kind of how they were. So, they expressed their outrage, but Cody Harris, State Rep Cody Harris, went a step further, and he filed a complaint with the Texas Ethics Commission, essentially saying in his complaint that what Abraham George did was tantamount to legislative bribery. Now, normal TEC complaint, you're going to get for somebody screwed up on a filing, somebody filed late, somebody violated some campaign finance rule. I'm not going to go into all of the different ways that the TEC is frankly a bit dysfunctional. But the thing about it is that Harris's complaint carried with it, beyond any TEC fines, if that complaint would have gone through, it would have essentially required the TEC, the Texas Ethics Commission, to refer it for criminal prosecution. I mean, that complaint, had it gone any further, Abraham George could have gone to jail for essentially doing nothing more than saying, look, guys, you ran under our banner and you are breaking the rules. And if you break the rules, these will be the consequences. Okay. I mean, it would have set a horrible precedent, because then any one of you that went to one of these legislators and said, if you don't vote the way that I would expect to be represented, then I'm going to do everything to get you knocked out of office, right? I'm going to campaign against you, and I'm going to donate to your opposition. Things that we always say. It would have effectively criminalized your behavior and your interactions toward them. And so, my thought here is that my thought here really about it is I'm not going to say that I'm shocked they dismissed it, but look, the TEC. And I'm not the guy to talk about it. I mean, you want somebody, if you want to hear more about this subject, I'll see if Tony McDonald will come on here sometime, and we'll have a conversation about the Texas Ethics Commission. Maybe we'll save it and do it for the podcast, right? We'll do it on a podcast. But really and truly, I think that this one was enough of a lightning rod. I mean, it could have gone so badly had they been vindictive, and they have been in the past. I mean, the TEC has been under constant accusation of being unaccountable, out of control, that sort of thing. So there was a pretty good, I think it would have been a fairly safe bet to say that they would have gone through it, but it's kind of a coin toss. But even something like this, it would have been so explosive. It would have had far-reaching consequences. It would have opened up the agency to scrutiny. I mean, there was a lot of downside to the TEC taking it up. And let's be honest, it was a BS complaint. It was garbage to begin with. It, in and of itself, was political retribution. And frankly, there are rules in place. And if Abraham George wanted to clap back, he could file against Cody Harris for filing a frivolous complaint. There is an entire process and procedure in there for the filing of a frivolous complaint. And honestly, if I were in Abraham's shoes, I would do it. I would do it. I would take these people to the paint and absolutely burn them to the ground. Because look, from the moment that thing was filed, Abraham George had to get legal counsel. Now he probably, because it was connected with a party, could use Rachel Hooper or whoever over there, but that's a lot of hassle. That's a lot of hassle and potentially money out of Abraham George's pocket. So, if I were in his shoes, I absolutely 100% would go exercise my right under that same code, and I would go file a complaint that Cody Harris had filed a frivolous complaint. They weaponize these institutions. I look at it like no different than when they weaponize the judiciary. It's lawfare is what it is. It is terrorism without the bombs and the guns. Now, if you look at what the definition of terrorism is, it's violence according to law. It's violence in furtherance of a political aim. Well, it's not as destructive as a bomb. It's not as destructive as a gun, but is it destructive and disruptive? It absolutely is. So, look, I don't think that the lawfare is done. I don't think it is. I've said this before about us. I don't think the lawfare against us is over with. I think that this is just ramping up. And I'm going to tell you right now, it feels like the leadership in the House are feeling their oats. And I fully expect more nonsense and shenanigans. So just be prepared. But Clark, thank you for that question. I really am glad that they dropped it. I'm happy for Abraham George, but I don't think we've seen the last of it. We may have seen the last of this, but have we seen the last of the fallout from this, or the last time they try to weaponize a government agency or the judiciary? I don't think so at all. I think they're just getting warmed up. Okay, let's go to the chat. Here's one. Wendy asks, when is the Texas Stock Exchange going live? I do not know the answer to that specifically. I'll make a note of that, and we will find out. I had somebody the other day drop a message really upset because we were excited about the Texas Stock Exchange, and they're like, well, don't you should hate BlackRock. And it's like, I don't like BlackRock. I don't like a lot of what they do. BlackRock is an investor in the Texas Stock Exchange, along with other people. But at the end of the day, that's not what controls the Texas Stock Exchange. What controls the Texas Stock Exchange are the businesses and the stocks that are listed on the Texas Stock Exchange. It's the infrastructure. They helped fund the investment to create the infrastructure, and they were one entity. It's not a wholly owned subsidiary of BlackRock or any of that nonsense. But they have a tendency to want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. And the fact is that Texas getting its own stock exchange is kind of a massive deal. If you want to look at a checklist for things that help clarify a political, a cultural, an economic national identity, that definitely is a good one. It helps us more than it hurts us. So I will tell you, I don't know the answer to exactly when it's going live, Wendy, but I would say the sooner the better. It would make me extremely happy. I wish I could find some company that offered investments for just Texas companies, like just a Texas only mutual fund, or any of those. I think that would be phenomenal. We've got enough companies here, you can do it. The Texas Stock Exchange is going to be kind of a no-brainer. Anyway, thank you for that question. All right, let's jump back over here. Okay. Okay, this one is from Mike. Mike says, what does a typical day/week look like for you in the TNM and leaders? Okay. Wow. All right. So what does a typical day/week look like? All right. That's an interesting question. Let me just start off by saying there is no typical day, right? No day is kind of like any other day. It's well, okay. So we'll pluck out some things. So let me just kind of run through this, and this may seem boring to some of y'all, but look, I answer questions, right? And Mike asked this. So for me, right, I'll talk about kind of mine. I live and die by my calendar, and I have to, because like I said, I have to work as well to earn money for the house, aside from what goes on in the TNM. But Monday kicks off, and we do a meeting with our executive team, right? So we'll be on a call from anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours, where we kind of line out, what happened last week, what are we working on now, kind of lining out the week ahead. So we'll do that and kind of analyze everything across all fronts. So that'd be, any type of new campaign launches or preparations for campaign launches. We do a review of any of the technical issues that have come up and been addressed, and what our tech team's working on. We review a good bit of what happens with what's happening with the organization in the field. We talk about our governmental engagement, international engagement. We just kind of do a rundown of every department and determine, what's going on, what we need to do, et cetera, set direction. And then we go about our business. And then, depending on the week, I may have some departmental meetings, right? So I do stand-ups with all the department heads, at least 45 minutes on Mondays, Tuesdays, and now on Wednesdays and Thursdays, just depending on the department, depending on the week. So I will, in a typical day, review any kind of communication. So we'll look at reports. So that'll be analysis from social media, web statistics. We'll do comm rundowns. What do we need to be getting articles written about? What do we need to be posting about on social media? What's the feedback we're getting? And then we have time set aside both morning and afternoon for media availability, which gets exercised. For example, I think tomorrow I've got an interview with a Dutch media outlet in the afternoon. So, that stuff happens. Then I have to take time out for working with my clients. So I typically will do that in a chunk. What we may do, depending on the week and the day of the week, we may have an evening meeting with some of the teams, right? So in a department, if they have a meeting, so I may have to pop in there. One of us may pop in. It goes like that. And then I meet with our tech team and our web developers generally between 11:30 and midnight is when our meeting is, and it goes for about an hour to an hour and a half. And then, that's just kind of how it goes. And if things come about that we have to address, then we address them. For example, we have to have sometimes emergency meetings that deal with why aren't emails hitting boxes, or right now we're provisioning out a brand new phone system so that all of our people can stay in communication. We will have meetings looking at membership and fundraising, and talk about how we're going to do that, how we're going to bring more value to members, and some things that we can do. We'll have brainstorm sessions over legislative strategy. I will tell you, my anniversary and Kara's anniversary, our anniversary was on the 13th, and something kind of major came up, and we TNM'd all day, late into the night. We did not do, and our anniversary was right here working on this stuff. So, and then you have comm development, prepping for this, reviewing any pre-submitted questions, doing the tech rundowns, preparing assets. Same thing if there's interviews for the podcast or any of those things. I have a stack of books and thank you notes sitting right here on the table. Hang on, I'll show you right here, that I've got to get signed and out the door tomorrow. It's just, this is the kind of the thing, legislator calls. This is what the typical day/week, while a lot of people are out there and they're like, okay, here's my work life and here's my personal life. That's not how it looks. Yours may be separated like this, but mine looks an awful lot, sort of like this. It's very intertwined. And it all has to be, while I live and die by the calendar, everything has to be absolutely flexible because you never know when things are going to change. And so that's just the way it is, Mike. And I can tell you that a lot of the people in leadership are exactly the same way. If you were to have a conversation with them and ask them the same question, like, what does your typical day look like? They're going to talk about meetings. They're going to talk about phone calls. They're going to talk about travel. They're going to be talking about troubleshooting issues. They're going to be talking about campaign strategic planning, developing assets. I mean, a lot of companies will spend money to go, or organizations will spend money to have somebody else do something. But frankly, the vast majority of things we do, we have to do in-house. That's why we say, look, people, volunteer. Every hour you volunteer is an hour that we don't have to go and pay somebody to do it. And especially if we don't have the budget for it, it just doesn't get done. So we always need volunteers. Anyway, look, I'd encourage you, reach out to some of the others, reach out to some of the other people in leadership and ask them. And what you're going to find is that we are all, if we're not sleeping, eating, drinking, and occasionally having a few moments to ourselves, we are working this thing like a rented mule. Okay. So that's just the way it is. Okay, Mike, thank you for that. Let's see, where did we leave off? That was emails. Let's get over here to the chat. Okay, let's look at this one. Culloden Cowboy. Howdy from Stephenville. Daniel, hey, that's me. How do we combat fair weather unionists and communicate to them that independence is necessary regardless of the current DC administration? I think you just did it. It's actually a really good question, and I know that I've mentioned it a couple of times over the last few coffee talks. But I will tell you that there are going to be people out there that say, look, why do we need to TEXIT? It's all fixed. And number one, that means they fundamentally misunderstand TEXIT. Number two, and I think more importantly, they fundamentally misunderstand the nature of the predicament that we're in, right? I talked about this, I think a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago or so, whenever our first one of the year was. And I actually got criticism for being harsh, but I can't be anything but harsh on this. And it's simple. Why I'm harsh about this. If anyone thinks that by changing the occupant of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, that the problems are solved, then they fundamentally misunderstand the nature and the source of those problems, right? So $36 trillion federal debt, unsustainable. We're that plus unfunded liabilities. We're at over 100% of GDP. We've had some movement on immigration and the border. That's great. We're seeing some of this rollback of the wokeness, and I think the people have been heard on that for right now. But understand that all of these things are being done, as I said last week, by executive order. And anything that is given to you or taken away from you by an executive order can in turn be taken away from you or given to you by another executive order. Right? Welcome to the imperial presidency. Or, as I think I crap talked Alexander Hamilton's elective monarchy last week. But that's the reality of it. So you're basically one bad election away from being back in a worse position than you were before you started getting some of the things that you wanted. And that's because there is a systemic problem. The federal government is the failure point. Our relationship with the federal government means that we continue to experience whatever that trickle down is from that failure point, right? So what people need to understand, number one, is they need to understand that TEXIT is the process. It's not an act, right? It's the thing that gets us from status quo to independence. You guys are going to get tired of hearing me say that, but that's the way that it is. And it's important to have that mindset. But it's also, this time, as it stands right now, it's time for us to advance toward independence faster than we've ever before, because our resistance to it should be far, far less toward moving Texas toward independence, right? Because let's think about everything we were promised in this election. We're going to push this stuff back down to the states, right? That's what we heard on the campaign trail. We're pushing everything back to the states. We're going to eliminate this federal bureaucracy. We're going to roll back the debt. We're going to do these things. Now, look, that's campaign rhetoric. There's campaigning and there's governing. So don't tell me, show me, because we've been told time and time again, so show me. And executive orders is not, that's not the only way to show, and that's not the longest lasting way. You want to show me real reform and repeal in the federal government? Get it done through the entire process, not just by an EO. That's how you know if the change is lasting and for real. Okay. So, when you want to combat fair weather unionists, I just encourage people, look, we have to connect with people that are ready for TEXIT right now, regardless. We're looking for Texas Nationalists. And I encourage people, look, if you're talking to people and you're having to debate and have these big, long discussions, and you're having to try to, beg and bug to get these guys, move on. There are too many people out there that are ready for independence right now that you don't have to beg. You don't have to debate. You just have to go connect with the right people. And so, you want to combat fair weather unionists, people that are like, oh, well, things are all fixed. Well, all you got to do is just give them time, right? But there are people out there that are ready right now to see Texas become a self-governing independent nation. And, it's just a matter of connecting with them. Start by connecting with the people in the TNM, because the people in TNM aren't going anywhere. We all know that what we got was a nice bit of breathing room for us to continue to advance the cause, and do so without being under the thumb of a neo-Marxist Maoist organization, aka a federal government run by the Bidens and the Kamala Harrises of the world, and frankly, even some people that carry the R behind their name on the federal side. So that's what we know. So connect with those people. We have to begin to look at this as nation building. And if you have a finite amount of time to work with, right? Well, just like that old analogy about the jar with the rocks, right? Do you want to continue to fill your jar full of all this other nonsense, having to deal with these people? Do you want to go out there and get that jar filled, but use that time, allot that time to people that, look, I don't have to argue or debate with these people. They're ready to rock and roll, and I'm happy to meet them. Right. So that's the only advice that I can give you. I'll be honest with you. I don't have time to banter with a bunch of people that are not in it to win it, that are not already there. I don't mind helping people and mentoring them and giving them information and things of that nature. But there are too many people out there that are ready for this thing to happen that we have not connected with yet. There are way too many of those people out there that I could be connecting with, rather than spending time trying to drill this into somebody who ultimately won't be interested in the first place. Right? Or they're just looking for an excuse not to be involved. So harsh, I know. I'm expecting hate mail. I don't care. I have a folder for that. I keep it all as a reminder and memento. Those are all the people that go into a special email list, that when we cross the finish line, they all get an email that says, told you so. Right? All right. Let's let us move along here. Okay. This is not a question, but I'm throwing it up there anyway. Bolgiano, he says, TNM volunteers will be hanging out on Llano Square this Saturday morning. Come say howdy. So guys, if you're anywhere within driving distance of Llano or Llano County, head over there and see John and company. They'll be set up on the square, and they'll be connecting up with people that are ready to see this thing get done. Okay, let us take a look over here. Oh yeah, a reminder, because we're at the midway point. Submit your questions. If you're on YouTube, drop them in chat. If you're on Facebook, drop them as a comment. If you're watching us on X, do it in the chat next to the video, or you can, it'll be down here in just a second. You can drop an email to coffeetalk@vtnm.org. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay. See, I told you. I mean, look, hate mail. I mean, it comes. I mean, look, if everybody's happy with what you're saying, then what you're saying is not worth much, right? Okay, here we go. Wow, you use that as your username. Okay. Do you think we'll have to do another petition campaign this year? Okay, good question. So, for those of you who do not know, right, that question is probably about the TEXIT petition, and that was, just to catch you up if you're brand new here. Last year, well, I guess 2023 now, it's 2 years ago, right? We launched a campaign because under a little known provision of the Texas Election Code, as Texas is not an initiative and referendum state, there is no mechanism to get a question on a statewide ballot. However, under 172.088 in the Texas Election Code, you can, by petition, place a proposition on a political party's primary ballot. That is the one narrow exception for initiative, unless you get down to the municipal level. Okay, so we ran the petition campaign 2 years ago and collected the signatures, and theoretically it should have gone on the ballot for reasons that I will remind everyone that I've talked about way too many times before. And if you don't know what all happened, go to the news.tnm.me in the search bar, type petition, and you'll get the whole story. It's all there in the articles. It's all there. And somebody said, why don't you give me a concise answer? It's like, because there's no such thing as a concise answer. You want me to encapsulate 180 days worth of campaign plus everything that came after in a short sentence, then you are definitely not paying attention. But it's all there in the articles. So if you want to go read, honestly, we ought to write a book about it because it's so crazy. That being said, to your question, are we going to run it again? I'm not sure. There has been some discussion about whether we run it, whether we do another petition campaign or not. There are certain preconditions in relation to this. There has been some discussion about potentially getting the question on a party primary ballot without the petition. There's been a lot of discussion about next steps where that sort of thing is concerned. And one of the things that people are, that I think is playing into this conversation is it even necessary at this point, right? We're at the point now where, look, we've done it. We got that petition across the finish line. Just because the previous leadership of the Texas GOP rejected it doesn't mean we didn't get it done. The work got done. And yes, granted, they did not ultimately put it on the ballot, but do we even need that at this point on a primary ballot, or should our energies be spent on ensuring that we get passage of the Texas Independence Referendum Act and get it on the ballot for real, right? Get a real vote on this, as opposed to checking the temperature. We know what polling says. We know, that the Republican Party of Texas got 2 planks on the platform calling for the vote. So, we're already kind of in. I think maybe we may be past the vote in a party primary advancing us. Now, it may, right? We're still kind of hashing this out and looking at it. But there's a lot of questions about what we're going to do. And I think ultimately, I think that whether we decide to do another petition campaign, and there are other opportunities related to that I cannot discuss, but I think ultimately one of the prime drivers for that will be you guys, right? How many of you say, look, we want another run at it, right? If you say we want another, if you guys in overwhelming numbers reach out to us and say, I think we should do it again, and I will help collect X number of signatures, fill in the blank, whatever you're comfortable with. if that's the case, then again, much like how this happens with late night coffee talk, if you guys want it, then we'll figure out a way to make it happen. But there has to be a rational, reasonable, viable path toward making it happen. From our standpoint, the last two petition campaigns, we lacked the resources and the people on the ground to get it across the finish line. I mean, we did good to do the electronic method, and I'm 100% sure we were legally in the right on that one. And again, go search for petition on news.tnm.me and you'll see the entire dissertation on why we were right and why ultimately the leadership in the Texas GOP broke the law by rejecting the petition signatures. But honestly, we're going to need a lot more boots on the ground. I mean, that's the only way that this is going to happen. We need more volunteers to help us collect signatures. And so, being underpowered last go around, I think affected the conversation that we're having right now. And you guys are the only ones that can remedy that. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Okay, let's take a look at this real quick. Anyway, thank you for that question. That's a good one. See, this is where you get the insights. Now you're getting the inside scoop, my friends. All right, so we got that one done. Let's go take a look over here. That's what I'm trying to pull up right now. Okay, well, we're going to have to go back over here. Carino says, would Texas ever implement an immigration policy that prioritizes Mexicans while deporting others? I can't speak to what Texas would do. I mean, I can't, in the future. I can give you some insight and potential indication of what I think they might do. And, what I have said all along is that Texans have been very clear about two things. And these seem very simple. They've been very clear about two things. They want a secure border, right? They want a secure border between Texas and Mexico. And the second thing is they want a sensible immigration policy. I have been in the camp of advocating for a position on immigration that is kind of like the Australian style point system, where if you're going to allow it, then you do it on a points-based system so that you can ultimately make better decisions about not only how many come in, but of what skill sets and what are those. And so those various things about the points, whatever that point system would be, I think would be a good answer to that. So I can't speak specifically to your question. But I can tell you that I don't think that part of it concerns Texans as much as are the people that are immigrating here suitable to be here? I mean, and I may get some flack for saying suitable, but I don't care, because that's the truth. When you have Venezuela emptying out its prisons and sending them here, I would say those people are unsuitable. Right. So, do we need people of a particular skill set or knowledge set? What are the ties here? I mean, there are a lot of things that go into it, but I would suggest going and taking a look and seeing how at the Australian style point system and understand. I believe that ultimately that's probably where the UK is going to go, is to a system very similar to that. And I think, honestly, that may be where Trump is trying to go on a federal level with some sort of point system. But at this point, it really does. Really hard to tell. Yeah, we've heard a lot. We've seen some EOs, but who knows what that's going to be, because ultimately it'll be interesting to see what Congress does with that, right? Anyway, thanks for the question. Okay, we are getting pretty close. Hey, be sure to, if you're just joining us, first of all, you're late. Second, be sure to dump your questions down into the comments. I'm going to take another round here real quick, make sure that we're not missing any, because we are kind of getting to the tail end of this bad boy. Okay, this is going to be a fun one. All right. So, Red State Secession says, why does Texas Independence Referendum Act call for a non-binding question that politicians can ignore? Can't lawyers find a way for the legislature to put a binding question on the ballot? This is going to be a fun one for me because it allows me to address something that I've had to address on occasion, right? But now it's going to be a good one. Oh man, I'm almost out of coffee. You guys are in trouble. There we go. Now it's drained. Okay. So I will tell you, if you and I were in the same room and you were to ask me that question, I would ask you a question. And that is, can you define binding for me? Okay. This is the ultimate challenge with questions like this a lot of times, is that we don't agree or can't agree on definition of words, or people use these words and don't fundamentally grasp what that meaning is. So I will tell you, and this was an interesting conversation that I had with Dr. Kortrip about this as well. And it gets down to the question of, what does binding mean? Okay, so I think that really is the question. This says, why does the Texas Independence Referendum Act call for a non-binding question? Well, what does that even mean? Because if you look at binding, which means they are bound to an action, then it's clear in the Texas Independence Referendum Act they are bound to action after an affirmative vote, right? In fact, because Texas law does not allow the legislature to essentially mandate a discretionary act of the executive branch, we had to be very creative. If you'll look in the book, the original draft of the Texas Independence Referendum Act called for mandating the governor call a special session. Well, you cannot mandate what is a constitutionally discretionary power of the governor, right? So we had to think of a different way that we could be bound, so that they could be bound, right? So I want you to understand that there is binding. What does that mean? Is there action after? And then the question is it legally binding or politically binding? And I think it's important to really make that distinction, because is it legally binding? Well, it's legally binding in the sense that if it comes back in the affirmative, next steps are taken. Those next steps are mandated to be taken by the law, okay? But the more important part of this is whether or not it's politically binding, right? You could have legally binding all day long, but politically binding is the most important. And this was Kortrip's take on it, and I probably ought to have him on here again to talk about this. Maybe we already did. I think he may have even been on here once to talk about it. But when you have an issue like this, these things don't happen in a vacuum. So let's say we go through 2025, they pass, the vote happens in November of this year, and it comes back and it's 62%, 64%, whatever, even 52% in the affirmative, right? It only takes 50% plus one. Well, what you have then, because you've got to remember, it's not going to be a secret. Like if Texans get this on the ballot, when Texans get this on the ballot, it's going to be global news. Global news. It's going to be you will not be able to escape this conversation. And every politician is going to be required publicly to take a side on it, for or against, right? So I want you to imagine we come out of, and anybody who went to the TEXIT blueprint or has taken the course online, because we put all the videos up, knows this already. But the reality is that when you come out of this vote, if you have anything 50% plus one north of that, then right after that vote, you've got the filing window opening for the next session, right? So or the next election. So then the question becomes, do those people that stood against it survive? You see, this is the difference between legally binding and politically binding. It's legally binding in the sense that they are required to do things after an affirmative, right? After it comes back in the affirmative. But politically speaking, they are effectively politically bound to do something. Do you really imagine? So let's just take 60%. Let's say 60% come out in favor. We know the average voter turnout for independence referendums is 85%. Well, if that's the case, that represents pro-Texit voters represent the largest voting bloc in the history of Texas ever, right? They become the largest. No politician that would stand in the way of the outcome of that referendum survives the next election. They don't, because they're going up against what is effectively the largest voting bloc in Texas history. And this is why the timing is so important. And I talked about that during the TEXIT blueprint. The timing is so important. You know, the biggest problem they had in the UK with Brexit is they didn't have elections immediately afterwards. You know, if there had been a general election immediately afterwards, you probably could have seen a much different outcome. Now, they did have it eventually, right? But the challenge is there was enough time to let the grass grow under the feet. Here, we don't have that problem. The timing is just as important as the question itself. And that timing means that whenever that vote is held, then almost immediately the window opens for filing for candidates for the next election cycle. Those will be your people that will be charged with carrying out the mandate of the Texas voters. So I don't agree with this question that it calls that it's non-binding. And I just explained the issue about the legislature to put a binding question. It is binding. If you're looking for something to bind the governor, that's a different question than what you asked. Okay, let's get down to see what else we got. But that is a good question. Oh, see, and this could be the funny one. So I see somebody over here in chat saying, my concern is we've got however many people watching. But you're looking at one platform. That's the problem. You're looking at a platform. That's not the aggregate. We're not just broadcasting on a single platform. We broadcast on multiple because frankly, we get enough email from people and enough messages. I'll never be on fill in the blank platform. Well, that's you, right? Or somebody else on another platform. So we try to hit as many as we possibly can to accommodate everybody who's protesting whatever platform. So, okay. Yeah, thank you. Somebody's saying that. All right. Let's look, see. I am looking. Yeah, you guys are asking good questions tonight. Y'all trying to run me out. All right, let's get down to it. Billy wants to know, Dan, short name. Feels like I'm in trouble. What does Texas owe Washington? Also, did Texas get their gold back? We don't owe Washington jack. If that's what I don't know if you're talking about the federal debt or whatever, but our obligation, we are obligated to pay zero on the federal debt when we become independent. Will we ultimately? Maybe. Will we pay for it? And will that be per capita? How it will be calculated? That's a whole other thing. But we are obligated to pay nothing, absolutely nothing. And and I always love it when the opposition goes, well, good luck paying back that federal debt. It's like, or they say national debt, and then I have to correct them and remind them it's not national debt, because that would mean it belonged to the people. No, it's federal debt. That debt is owned by the federal government. And so when we are no longer part of that, it is still owned by the federal. And just so you understand, that's not the thing about me. The thing about saying Texas is not obligated to pay back a penny. That's not me saying that. That's academics, international law experts. It goes on and on, right? So that's not me. That's the experts saying it and documenting it, and it's true. The question also, did Texas get their gold back? I will tell you, I mean, you have to be more specific about that. I don't know if you're talking about the gold that was held by University of Texas system, because they had part of that in some of their funds. I don't know what metals are part of the various portfolios, but the fact that we have the Texas Bullion Depository, and I know the state is holding some assets there, I would suggest that it sounds like Texas didn't just get our gold back, but we built a place to store it. So, but I don't know what the breakdowns of that would be specifically. Okay, thank you for that. Well, guys, look, it's time to wrap this bad boy up. We've got a few more, but we'll get to them. We'll get to them later. I've got coffee, and I honestly got to get back to work. But anyway, look, I want to thank you guys so much for hopping on here tonight. Great questions as always, and just appreciate you guys being so thoughtful with your questions. I got to tell you, the one about what does a typical day look like. Who was that? That was Mike. That I enjoyed that one. That's an unusual one, and very few people ask that question. They just kind of, the magic happens, and I think that's what it is magic, but it takes an awful lot of work. Anyway, look, a couple of things. On February the 4th, if you saw the news announcement, February 4th, I will be in Lufkin for the official launch of TNM Angelina County. They've had a local group there, but they are finally organized. They are officially launching their county level organization, and I will be there. And very excited to get these new officers sworn in and get them. I mean, they're already leading their counties. Who am I kidding? But just to have that officially launch off in their counties. I think some of the counties, five or six, changed status over the last couple of days. So if you want to take a look at that, head over to local.tnm.me. That's local.tnm.me. And that will get you, you'll see a map of the counties. Find your county. Go let them know that you're interested in being a part of organizing in your county. That map just looks absolutely incredible. Matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this because I can. I've got control of this right here. But look at that. There's, oh yeah, well, it helps if I add it to the screen, right? Boom, there it is. Yeah, look at that. So all of those are areas where we are currently in some stage of organizing, where we're engaged. They're in pre-launch status. So that yellow color is quite interesting. That means if you see these counties in yellow, what that means is that county is currently taking applications for leaders for that county leadership team. And so you can see there how many are in that pre-launch stage. This blue means that we are actively connecting with supporters in those counties to find out, engage the interest for getting that organized, basically getting everybody kind of lined out and understanding what's going on. And there is that little orange one right there in Angelina County that will be green, officially green on February the 4th. So if you're within driving distance of Lufkin, I would absolutely love to see you there. A good time will be had by most. I guarantee it. Additionally, look, if you are watching tonight and you have not already registered your support, be sure to do so. Head over to tnm.me/vote and register your support. Get you, it's free. You get access to the website. You get access to TNM Social. You get access to tons of resources, including the TNM Academy. But honestly, what we need you to do is become a member, right? You can become a member by going to member.tnm.me, or cool thing, and I've mentioned this the past few weeks, we implemented this policy late last year, but if you go to donate.tnm.me and you make a donation, one cool thing happens is that not only, well, technically two cool things. Number one, you support the work, you help us reach more Texans, you help us advance the goal of Texas independence. But the second cool thing that happens is that donation goes toward membership credit. So you literally get credit for membership. It goes right into your kitty, tucks out of there. It's pretty cool. So you get membership credit for that. So head over and make a donation today. Donate.tnm.me. Additionally, once you are a registered supporter, you can download the TNM app. Head to tnm.me/app. As a matter of fact, do me a favor. If you got the notification tonight via the TNM app to join the live stream, do me a favor and drop it in the comments. I would love to see how many of you are taking advantage of everything the app has to offer. Final thing before we wrap this bad boy up, Texas Business Directory slated for an early February official public launch. If you're a Texas business owner, be sure to go over there and register today, business.tnm.me. A lot of fine businesses. A lot of you guys have already signed up over there. But if you're a business owner and haven't done it, go over there and sign up. We're going to launch this thing. And, you know, frankly, this gets to the economic nationalism and economic independence aspect of our mission. I want to, and others want to, do business with businesses that share our values and our vision for a self-governing, free, and independent Texas. Okay, my friends. Well, you know what that means. That means it is time to wrap up this bad boy. I want to thank you guys so much again for joining me and pouring a cup of coffee at this hour and, you know, asking thoughtful questions. Let's have thoughtful conversations about these things. And, you know, I really, really enjoying back to this weekly schedule. So thank you for that. So I will leave you with the words I leave you with every time we're together. They're not my words, they're the words of Sam Houston when he said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. I believe that time is now. And the question is, will you stand with her? Good night, everyone.
Little black book full of senators' names, private jets to islands playing twisted games. Said I was crazy talking about them camera feeds. Now everybody's wondering why that guard fell asleep. They called me crazy yesterday, but now it's headlines in the light of day. Them suits in Washington are proving me right. Every time they open up their files, just give my theories a little while. What's insane at dinner time is breakfast news at night. Yeah, they call me crazy, but now they call me right. Billionaires in bunkers while they tell us all is fine. Big pharma's getting richer one prescription at a time. Temple's getting crowded with them devils in disguise. But them dominoes are falling and the truth don't lie. They called me crazy yesterday, but now it's headlines in the light of day. Them suits in Washington are proving me right. Every time they open up their files, just give my theories a little while. What's insane at dinner time is breakfast news at night. Yeah, they call me crazy, but now they call me right. It ain't paranoia when the footage shows the truth. It ain't delusion when they can't hide the proof. You can label me a madman, call me what you like, but I'm batting 1,000 on these dark moonlight nights. Got a list of theories in my bottom drawer. Gonna wait 6 months before I show you what they're for. 'Cause every wild conspiracy seems to find its day when them cameras stop rolling and the truth gets away. They called me crazy yesterday, but now it's headlines in the light of day. Them suits in Washington are proving me right. Every time they open up their files, just give my theories a little wow. What's insane at dinner time is breakfast news at night. Yeah, they call me crazy, but these days I sleep just fine, 'cause crazy keeps on turning into front page